extremely important data points emerged this week. The first data point is that we have already breached on planet Earth the 1.5 degrees Celsius increase that we had committed to not go beyond. July 2023 will be remembered to be the most warm July in the history of our planet. The second data point is that on a cumulative basis, India has already consumed 1 billion tons of coal. And it is for us to now really take fresh guard and totally look at prioritizing rapidly and speedily actions that will lead to decarbonization. Use whichever priority will suit your business model, but the time to do it is now. And it is not important for us to only focus on what is happening within our own company. What is important is to make sure that the scope 3 emissions which travel into your company from your supply chain are also tackled in a manner that you will be able to truly bring the carbon footprint of your manufacturing down. The good news for all of us is that converging technologies make all this possible today, like it was never before possible. And what are these large converging technologies that we now have access to on a democratized, scaled up, global manner? And I'll talk about only 3. The first is that we have been able to create smart grids using machine learning and artificial intelligence. And these smart grids are able to draw in power from variable sources like solar, wind, and in some cases there will have to be biomass and also coal, and actually compute and give us a reckoning of what is the delivered renewable power in our scope 1 kind of emission. So that is the first converging technology that we need to focus on. And again, the good news is that the marginal cost of producing a unit of solar energy, solar-based energy, has come out to be the lowest of all the energy forms that we know. The only one which is likely to beat solar is fusion. And fusion is maybe 5-7 years away. But if you can blend solar, wind, battery, biogas, municipal waste to hydrogen, all of these things that are emerging, then you have the possibility of a smart grid which will actually enable you to track and monitor what is your consumed power which is renewable. So that's the first very important concept to remember. The second is that the trackability and traceability and the provenance for every item that you produce is now feasible on account of very large deployment of QR codes, RFID technologies, and all other technologies which will enable multiple variables which drive output to be tracked right until it is consumed and paid for. And this is a very important thing in the sustainability race, because ultimately, as I mentioned earlier, the entire supply chain must work together to deliver much lower carbon footprint. And the third converging technology that has become very important is ubiquitous mobility, ubiquitous autonomous mobility. If we can get planes, ships, trucks, cars, two-wheelers, and everything else run on EV principles, we will save not only the traffic on our roads, but we will save a whole lot of fossil fuel energy that is necessary to provide the fuel today in internal combustion machines. So these three converging technologies are likely to completely transform our ability to actually make a dent and make that dent be felt locally. And I would leave these thoughts with you. Number one, all of us need to get involved in decarbonization. Each one of us must count our own footprint beginning right now and look at what can we do right, not only in terms of how we live our lives, but how we can influence the lives of every entity that we are engaged with. And that is the future that we need to bring down to today. That's the how of actually decarbonizing. Thank you and wish you all the best in considering how we can not only reduce our footprint, but finance this reduction in a green manner. All the very best.
Why should a company or even governments and companies of any sizes, why should they embark on this journey of ESG, and how should they do it? So the why is fairly clear, it doesn't really need any validation anymore. You're seeing the kind of rains across India, across the world, extreme weathers. We've just had the hottest ever month on record, which was this July. So I think the why has become fairly clear. We want to leave, the onus to leave a better planet for the next generation lies upon us. So that is sort of the why, right? And how do we really do it? And what is it that, you as entrepreneurs or company owners can do to cause this shift? So it all starts really with the intent, at a board level, at a management level. Start having that intent, we go on to identify what is really causing the pollution, what is contributing negatively to the environment, what parts of our business or our value chain is contributing. We start off with setting a net. So we, when we advise companies and even at our own organization, we have 3 steps that we really propagate. One is setting a target, building an intent at management level that we ought to do something about it, and it is our responsibility. Now, how do you do it really depends on what your organization is into, and that is a separate conversation. But setting that intent is the most important thing. The second bit is actually understanding what is causing the emissions, right? So we call it hierarchical drawdowns. Essentially, drawdown is the ability of a solution in the climate world to extract carbon from the atmosphere. It's the most comprehensive study done in the climate space, led by scientist Paul Hawken, where they enlist 100 solutions which will cause drawdowns to actually get us to net positive. And you start mapping the solutions that are most relevant to your industry from that comprehensive list. Then the third bit is obviously, the entire risk mapping and reporting, where you determine your risk guardrails, where you align with organizations such as the SBTI, which is the Sustainable Science-Based Targets Initiative, which is an external validation organization that will tell you if the target. So let's say Della sets a target of being net zero by 2040. Who's going to come and validate that for you? That is the SBTI. More so from a listed company perspective, who have to really communicate to their investors and stakeholders. They start determining material topics and what determines risk for them.